Yeah. Oh, we
Yeah.
won't, we won't speak on it. No, I mean,
We'll let
can I
everybody
go to
say
speech or
hello.
no? Because okay, I got
Yeah.
curls. Oh, Christian. Where is he? He's outside. Look at that. His book.
All right. Here we go. Here come the lions. Wearing a jacket in this chair is always fun. The realities of being on the camera. That's right. Fun, thrills, and excitement. We have a few people in the peanut gallery today. I guess that's technically the green room, but some exciting things that are happening. We don't get to talk about them quite yet, but it's okay. Patience. Hopefully by Wednesday we'll have something solid, and that'll get things moving in a really awesome way. So anyway, welcome to the Lion's Den. I'm Paul Romero, your Oregon write-in candidate for governor. And no, it's not an easy road, but we're going to plow it. And right now, with everything that's happened, we had the recent governor's debate with the three evils, as I like to refer to them as. And very simply, most all of Oregon is pretty much at the point of none of the above. And the good news is, well, none of the above is a category. That would be me. I'm going to be that write-in candidate, and that's where we need all of Oregon to make a conscious effort to write my name in, Paul Romero, in a write-in slot for governor and fill in that oval. So as we go forward, what I found in finally sitting down to watch that governor's debate, it was amazing to me how much they talked about all the issues. And there's even one question they asked about if, what issues do you share common ground in, or what are the issues you agree on? Well, first of all the issues are just political topics. They cover a wide range of subjects, and they're all issues here in Oregon, and there's a long laundry list. And I've told you how most politicians, when they're running for office, the people, their handlers, tell them, well, you need to be solid on 3 items, 3 subjects, that's all you talk about, nothing else. Well, that's why do that? Did Kate Brown and everybody else create only 3 problems for Oregon? No, they had a whole lot of problems for Oregon. So you have to be able to address all of them. You can't leave anyone out. And if there's one you're unfamiliar with, well, you may be unfamiliar with it, but you probably know something about it. And you probably at least have a position on it, and you need to at least explain that. So, but listening to them was just a shock. Listen to them lie. Listen to them make claims about their concern about the people. Tina Kotek, the last thing she's concerned about is the people. I kind of look at her as kind of like a rodeo clown, especially after her appearance at the Pendleton Roundup. Really? I'd like to know who in your campaign told you to wear that. The cowboy hat, you probably had to go out and buy that thing that day. Don't do that. Okay. The people of Oregon, the people at the Pendleton Roundup, they know who you really are. They know that that's just a facade. You're trying to get into their good graces. Doesn't work. You're not genuine. So you're going to fail. And that's how it is. That's why Oregon doesn't want to vote for you. And for those Democrats or left-wing progressives and all that, I got news for you. All of you own businesses. A lot of you own businesses. And a lot of you, your businesses have collapsed. Okay? Why? Because of them. Because of their policies, the things that they pushed. So at some point, you're going to come to a simple realization that Republicans, conservatives, didn't create the mess that you're in. They created the mess. The Democrats that are in control, it's not all Democrats, it's just the Democrats in control. They created the problems for everybody, even you. You didn't get a get out of problem-free card. So pay attention to that. It matters. Betsy Johnson and all her rhetoric, she keeps talking about, well, she's the only independent candidate, and she is not partisan, and she's not beholden to anybody. I got news for you. She's beholden to more than the other 2. Okay, how do I know this? Go look at the money she's brought in. Go look where it's coming from. Granted, they're all getting money from the same sources, but the fact remains, they're all guilty of the same thing. They're all beholden to the same people. So when Betsy says that, that is not just disingenuous. It's actually a lie. Is that who you want as governor? Someone's going to stand there and lie to you about their history, about their voting record, about everything. Now, there's another disqualifying factor, I think, for Betsy Johnson, in that she was a director on the board of directors for the Portland branch of the Federal Reserve Bank. Isn't that interesting? The thing that blew me away, and I talked about this in my last live, is I went online and went and looked up who the current board of directors are for the Portland branch of the Federal Reserve Bank. You really should go take a look. You're going to be stunned. Number one, they're all women. When did men just get cut out of everything, right? I mean, come on. Is that really that big a problem? I know they call it the good old boys club, but lately we're learning that it's really the good old girls club. So it goes both ways. Nobody's really excluded. But at the same time, with that board of directors and the different people, the gal running the Betty Ford Clinic here in Roseburg, I mean, come on. So, and I'm kind of curious as to where Betsy Johnson's tour as a director on the board of directors for that branch. When was that before she started, or as she started her aviation business? I'm curious where she got the funding for all that. Yeah. Anyway, so then you have Christine Dracer. And for the most part, she seems like a nice lady, you know. However, again, we're back to disingenuous. She has a history in the legislature. And, you know, two thoughts come to mind. Either she's that naive to believe that the Democrats in the legislature would promise her all these things if she goes along with this. She goes along with that, and then they totally renege on what they promised. That is the current Democrat way in our legislature. Does that actually represent all the Democrat people, voters that they represent? No, I don't believe that for a second. But that's the reality. And the thing is, if you're not smart enough to realize the games they're playing, you probably shouldn't be playing the game. You shouldn't be involved. You're out of that league. And to be such a short time in the legislature and then end up being the leader, minority leader for the Republican Party in the legislature, well, did nobody else want the job? And my understanding was that was exactly the problem. Nobody else wanted the job. So, lack of choices, that's not leadership, guys. And there are plenty of people, Republicans in the legislature, that could have stepped up for that position. But they didn't want it. They didn't want the heat. And Dracer, a bit naive, and took it to her detriment, because now she has a history. And that history is plain, and anybody can go read it. So be careful. And they're going to make excuses. Well, I voted that way because of this and the pressure and blah, blah. Okay. You compromised yourself. You allowed yourself to be leveraged in whatever capacity. And what did you get for it? A handful of non-magic beans. Okay. That's what you got. So if that's the kind of governor you want, a squishy marshmallow with no shoulders and no real spine to really stand up against things, then you should probably vote for Christine Dracer. If you want someone who's been cheating the people and making money hand over fist, doing their thing for a long time, and 20 years in the legislature, and accomplished nothing of significance for the Oregon citizens, well, there's Betsy Johnson. And then if you really want, go full left wing, Tina Kotek. And literally, that is Kate Brown. Actually, all three of them are technically, in my opinion, Kate Brown 2.0, oh my God. We cannot afford that. Now, something that they all three have in common is all three of them support the Oregon-China Council. Oregon-China Council on their website states that they fully endorse the implementation of the United Nations, the UN Agenda 2030, which is the upgraded Agenda 21. Now, you've probably heard people say, oh, Agenda 20, oh, that's not real. It doesn't exist. That's just a conspiracy theory. No, it was very real. And you could find it on their website. And it outlined everything. It's like 17 points. And now with the 2030 agenda, guess where it's at? That's right. It's on the UN website. So it is not a conspiracy theory. It's a legitimate conspiracy. It's an actual event, and they're pushing it. So here in Oregon, with the Oregon-China Council, and their full endorsement of the Agenda 2030. What is that? Fundamentally, it's the New World Order. It is a one world government, okay? And in so doing, fundamentally, it means as American citizens, as Oregonians, we would end up giving up our own freedom, our liberty, and our sovereignty. Not about you, but no. I will fight with my last dying breath to not let that happen. I swear an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I took that oath seriously. I took that oath to heart. Now, a lot of our representatives, our elected officials, including our governor, swore an oath as well. However, it's very apparent that they're not following through with what they swore an oath to. They're fundamentally undermining the whole process, all to benefit themselves at our expense. At some point, Oregonians are going to have to wake up, put their feet down. And one of the first best ways they can do it right now, this next election, is actually take the time to write my name in, Paul Round. I have my contract with Oregon. If you want the most current updated piece, I've been trying to get a hold of my guy to do the update, and he's apparently incommunicado. So if you want the current updated version, I got it. I can email it to you. I've already sent out a lot of emails, but we'll keep doing that. I also already did a verbal reading of the contract with Oregon, the current one, and that's actually found on Rumble. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube. Go look for that. Share it with people. Some people don't like to read anything, so let them watch and listen. That'll work too. Fundamentally, here in Oregon, we have a lot of bad candidates, okay? We have a lot of politicians. We can't afford politicians anymore. It's cost us way too much, and we have to recover that too. So each and every one of us, we all have a responsibility. And I've gotten a number of calls and contacts this weekend, which are very promising to help us make it to then. So we're getting our commercials are almost done. And so we'll get those out everywhere. So it's gonna be Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, guys. Never give up, never surrender. That's the other guy's problem. And right now, their biggest goal and ambition is they do not want me in front of the public. They do not want me talking to anybody. They don't want Lars Larson was not talking to me. I've requested an interview, nothing. Bill Meyer, many people have requested him to interview me. I've sent out emails to him, nothing. Rob Taylor report, won't even give it the time of day anymore. Why? That guy, it's like they have all bought into the compromising and the undermining of Oregon. It's like they're part of the problem. Now, we all assumed they were actually fighting the problem. But it would appear by at least not even interviewing me or asking me about my contract with Oregon and let me talk about that or my write-in candidacy, that they are in fact complicit with mainstream media and their attempt to basically shut us out. But see, they can't stop social media. And what I offer everybody, anybody, any group, if you want a Zoom call, I will set it up. I just need the emails to send it to me. If you want to set up the Zoom call, you send me it, I'll show up, I'll answer every question. Crossfire Church, I'm going to be there in Springfield on the 16th. And I'll be doing a short little thing. However, after it's done, I've offered to stay there and answer every question until everybody is satisfied. You can't represent people you can't relate to. And for me, I've been through the fiery hoops of life, as a single parent, as a veteran newly out of the Navy. Boy, that was a transition, let me tell you what. But we all go through these things. And as a governor, the primary job as a governor is to protect and support and defend we the people, right? To actually take on a serious fiduciary responsibility to not use and abuse funds, to lean the machine down, to reduce your taxes, to reduce your fees, if not eliminate them. These are the responsibilities of representative government, is to reduce government, to reduce regulation. But all my opponents, they're all talking about increasing it. And with the taxes, the thing I'll warn you about is all three of those main candidates have stated that they have no intention to change the tax structure, even though they know that the kicker has grown to such a level, the legislators are all salivating over that money. See, that's like 15 birds in one hand, and they're supposed to actually give those 15 birds back to the public. But they don't want to do that. See, that's not a fiduciary role right there. That's a greed goal. That's a greed position. And that's what they want to do. They're already planning on how they're going to spend it. Okay? So they don't want to reduce taxes. They want to keep collecting. They want to give even more. And now with the backroom deals for the new Oregon health program, the Obamacare, but Oregon version, which we already wasted billions of dollars on and got nothing for it, not even a website that worked. It helped a few people out, but not everybody. That's a problem. And the people that it did help out, you should feel a little guilty. Granted, you didn't start the problem. You didn't do the problem, but you should feel a little guilty because there's a whole lot of people, it messed up their actual health care. Right? Businesses, companies, corporations, they had healthcare set up for all their employees. People were happy. They could go to the dentist on a regular basis. They go to the doctor when they had a problem. It wasn't a big deal. But now they've made it so unaffordable for people that a lot of people are going by without medical insurance, without dental insurance. How is that better? It's not. And with this new system, by the way, here's what they're going to do. You, the Oregonian, are going to end up with more income tax. Oh, yeah. Up to 15% of your income to cover the cost of this new healthcare program here in Oregon. Did they ask you? No. This is a backroom deal. And the other thing is, Christine Dracer, Betsy Johnson, Tina Kotek all knew about it. And none of them are talking to you about it. And keep that in mind, too. So here we have taxes where they are, and they say we're going to leave them as they are. That's it. But in fact, the goal is to actually grow them. And there's something else they're doing that they all know about, but none of them are talking about it. And it has to do with your current cap on your property tax. The current cap is 5%. It's against the law for them to increase it. However, it wasn't against the law for them to add a little deal where they increased your property value 3% every year, regardless of property improvement. It's an artificial inflation on your property. That has literally priced most Oregonians out of buying a home, getting a mortgage. But there's another issue. They're currently got a bill running through that they're trying to eliminate the cap on your property tax so that the legislature will be able to increase your property tax at will. Because see, they'll never decrease it. They only want to increase it. Dracer, Johnson, Kotek, all know about it. None of them are talking about it. Why? Because see, they said they're going to leave the taxes as they are, which is going to include those additions, which means all of your taxes go up. My taxes go up. Can you afford that right now? No, of course not. We have recession, we have inflation, we have stagflation, that's what it's called. So that's what we're all experiencing right now. Your grocery bill is doubled and you're getting less. This is going to be a big problem here in Oregon. And their goal, the final end game for the state of Oregon, is to steal the state of Oregon right out from underneath all of us. They're trying to make it so inhospitable for us that we all just leave. We all go away. In the meantime, Chinese Communist Party buys up farms and ranches and rentals and water rights. Who allows that to happen? Well, let's go look at who we just had in the legislature. Betsy Johnson, 20 years. Tina Kotek, I think it's like 14 years. And then, of course, Christine Dracer, I think 6 years. And they're going to all act like, oh, we didn't know. So then we get to go to another argument. They claim they didn't know, they didn't understand. So that means they were stupid. They were stupid in regard to that. They didn't understand the intricacies of all that. Then obviously they weren't qualified to even be there. Or they had an agenda. And we all know and can say with pretty much confidence that they had an agenda. And that agenda cost all of us. This is the reality. I'm going to give you a little preview to some of the questions that they asked about and then my responses. There were actually some pretty good questions this time, but I never heard a really good response from any of these people at all on any of the questions. The first one had to do with Measure 114, and that has to do with more infringement on our Second Amendment rights. And my response to the Second Amendment rights is very simple. With the Constitution, guys, it's all of it or none of it. And it will never be none of it. Okay? And so with all of it, that means our Second Amendment. And already we have laws here in Oregon that actually violate our Second Amendment rights. Okay? That has to change. That has to be fixed by the Constitution. And they make the claim, well, there's all these shootings and these criminals and all. Yeah, okay, got news for you. That's not a legitimate argument in this case. It does not warrant the ability to take away any individual's ability to protect themselves with a firearm. That is the purpose of the Second Amendment. To not just protect yourself against, say, a would-be thief or something like that, right? But to protect yourself against the government. Yeah. Because, believe it or not, rumors has it that the government likes to infringe on your rights and may actually even come and take stuff away from you. But when you're armed, they're less likely to do it. Détente. Deterrent. That's what we're talking about here. It also is a great deterrent to keep foreign invaders out. Because see here, we're all armed to the teeth. We got thousands and thousands of rounds of ammunition and people that shoot awesome, right? So the day that happens, look out. Because the people of Oregon, people of America, we can hold our own. Don't even push us. Don't even try us. But the other thing I'm going to warn everybody is this. Should that day come to pass, we will not be taking any prisoners. Not one. Next one was a question on homelessness. And people in certain neighborhoods are fearing fires being started by the homeless and all that. And they keep talking about, well, we need new rules. And, well, the simple problem is this. None of them were addressing the actual underlying problem, what caused the problem. They're all just trying to address the symptoms and spend more money, right? Because they need more money from you so they can spend it on their projects that accomplish nothing but treat a symptom. It's like a really bad doctor. You go in, you got a broken arm. He says, well, here's some Tylenol. But what about my broken arm? Well, this might remove some of the pain and the swelling. But what about my arm? You need it set. You need to put it in a cast. And generally speaking, you got to go in with a broken arm. That's what they're going to do. But ultimately, you still have rehabilitation. You still have all these other things. It's a normal progression of it. But for homelessness, what causes it? What has contributed to the expanding homeless population in Oregon? Well, the legislature in Cape Brown. That's who's responsible. But there's also somebody else responsible. That's some governors in other states. That's right. Because, see, other governors in other states have been shipping their homeless here to Portland. But, truth be told, they were invited to. So the homeless were invited. All the drug users, you got it, because, we have a very liberal policy. The Measure 110 is what they claimed all Oregonians approved and agreed to. But the problem is people were confused as whether they should say yes or no. It wasn't plain English. And that's where the state violated the fundamental public trust to put things in context where people understood them and didn't confuse them. So they claim, whether it was by legal votes or not, I don't even know that for sure, but somehow we all approved cocaine and crystal meth and heroin for public use. And all it did was attract more drug users, more homeless. They created the problem. They made it bigger than it was. And then they're acting, we need more money to take care of the homeless. Betsy Johnson has this great big program they're working on. They're using a prison, a brand new state-of-the-art prison that was basically empty, probably because Cape Brown's been shooting all these thousands of convicts, dangerous felons, out of jail. I'm betting you money if they were smart, they better leave the state. But there'll be somebody else's problem then. So that could actually work out. But in the meantime, we're using a prison facility, a new prison for homelessness. So let's just promote homelessness. Let's just keep it going. See, people that are homeless, they figure out how ways to survive. And with the amount of money they can scam and pull in and what have you, they do. They do very efficiently. And they talk to each other. They have a great communications network. How do I know this? Because I talk to them and they share the information with me. They've even shared information where they had Antifa paying them to go and set fires. Where was the sheriff? Where's local law enforcement to go and interview these people? To go get this testimony? To do something about it? To at least come out publicly about it? We need real law enforcement. So to address the homeless, it's a couple step process for me. Number one, You screen everybody. If you came from out of state, you're going back to the state you came from. Okay. And number 2, it's called E-Verify. If you're not an American citizen, you will no longer benefit from the homeless processes and projects, the things that we have here in Oregon. You're out. We call ICE. You're gone. You better get out quick because ICE is on the way. Okay. Next step is then you take the actual legitimate Oregon homeless. They may be veterans. It could be mental illness. It could be drug use. It could be a lot of things. I met a guy who was an attorney that was homeless. Bad breaks. I learned over 80% of Oregonians are one event away from homelessness. That's frightening. And you want to know why? It's because rent for a 2-bedroom apartment is over $1,000, potentially upwards around $1,300, $1,400. Did your income go up to cover that increase? No, because like I said, property has been artificially inflated. That's why we're in the mess we're in here in Oregon for property. So it's not a matter of just having more homes available. You got to be able to afford them. See, they've made it where people can't get a mortgage to go buy a home because that home is way too expensive. So they're forced into rent, and then they can't afford the rent, and then they become homeless. Entire families, husband, wives, with children, living in a fifth wheel out on BLM land. Mom and dad both work. Kids do get to school, but they're still homeless. They can't afford the first, second, third, last month's rent and a deposit at the front end. Why? Because landlords have been able to demand this stuff. Listen, I don't have a problem with a landlord making profit, but the fact is this: what they're making is above and beyond anything that was reasonable or fair. And the state of Oregon, the legislature, the governor has allowed it to happen. We have to stop this. We have to reverse this trend. And there's a way to do that. So that's the fundamental way we're going to address homelessness. And the other thing I also know is that we do have homeless programs here in the state of Oregon that work, that actually help homeless. They're already funded. The problem is they're full of illegal immigrants. And those illegal immigrants stay in that program. It bogs it down. That's got to stop. If we can't take care of our own first, then we worry about everybody else. That's a responsibility as governor I have. My job is not here. I'm not here to be a governor that just takes care of illegal immigrants. We have a president that's currently doing that. And currently here in Oregon, we have a governor that's doing that, putting the needs of illegal immigrants ahead of all of us. In what world is that right? Do you think if you went to their country of origin that you'd get treated like that? No. You'd be in jail. And trust me, you don't want to be in those jails. It's ugly. You probably wouldn't survive very long. That's how that goes. See, and of course, as we know, with all the money they spend on psychiatrists at OHA, 5 of them making what, a cool $1 million a year, or $500,000 a year. Yeah, those guys, we're not getting our bang for our buck there for sure. Okay, next question was rent, property, attainable, affordable, and attainable housing. Now, I kind of just addressed that a bit. They claim it's a supply problem. Well, part of the issue is that, for example, Redmond had this huge population, even Bend. They had new businesses coming in, and they were importing workers, another issue, rather than hiring from Oregon. And as they did this, all of a sudden, there was no housing available. So a number of these businesses had to pick up and leave. If their people had no place to live, they couldn't stay there. Some of them went as far as Prineville. Guess what? You know, rent shot through the roof. Prineville, Oregon. Shouldn't be that way. And yet it is. They create this. So Redmond had put in a request with the zoning board here in the state to put in a bunch more housing out there. And it took them like 10 years to get it approved. That's 10 years too late. So to me, it makes way more sense to put zoning control back into the hands and the responsibility and authority of the county level and certain city level. That's how it should be. Because see, a county and a city knows more about what they need than anything else. Now, what the state agency should do is police them to make sure there's no good old boy stuff going on. and audit those things to make sure it's legit, good to go, no one's getting gouged, that type of thing. So that's how we address that. And like I said, I already talked about the 5% cap that they're trying to remove. All three of these ladies are guilty of this. Question 4 was regarding the coronavirus response. And the question was asked, what letter grade would you give our governor currently? Now, Betsy Johnson gave it an F. Tina Kotek gave her a D+. Well, Tina, what's that going to do for you job shadowing Kate Brown right now? Yeah. I don't think Betsy or Christine or myself, we don't get the job shadow or nothing. But, and Christine Dracer gave her an F. So what did I give her? I gave her an incomplete and withdrew from the course because nothing she did was good for this state. She completely destroyed the small business, the backbone of our economy. She destroyed our kids' education. In the meantime, all those teachers, the teachers union, fat, dumb, and happy, they were getting paid to not really do their job. You should have a huge problem with that. Here in Oregon, we pay more money for education to support it and everything than like 47 other states. And yet, we provide the third worst education. And on top of it, Kate Brown, in her infinite wisdom, has lowered the requirements for graduation. They're not even testing people on the minimums, the things you really need to know, right? It's absolutely remarkable. So fundamentally, education in Oregon is a train wreck. It was done purposely. And they also indoctrinated your kids. They helped to destroy the family unit, right? They reduced the education requirements, closed schools. Now, here's something that I did. I started out with that lawfare ammo way back when. And just to give people all the laws, the things they could bring in, some people took it into their bosses, gave it to the boss gave it to their attorney, and the attorney said, I can use this. Good, protect us. And they did. One gal wrote a really nice letter and detailed out how it helped not only her husband keep his job, but how she kept her job and helped get her school to the point where it was totally protected and couldn't be influenced by the state. Calling that a win. And did I get paid for that? No. All that information, all the lawfare ammo, all the different contributors to that, and there's a lot of them, by the way. That's just people helping people. And we need a whole lot more than that. We need a whole lot more of that. Next question was the steps to support hospitals. Okay, first of all, hospitals were making bank during COVID. Okay, we know that. They were getting paid for every person they brought in, every person they gave a vaccine to, they made money. If you had to be admitted to the hospital, they made money. If you had to go on a ventilator, big money. If they were able to get you put on remdesivir, woo, even bigger money, another 20% bump. It was a for-profit fake pandemic. And hospitals did well, okay? Because they weren't worried about you and me paying. They were getting paid already. And do you think Kate Brown and all these other people here run for office? Who are they getting money from? That's right. Getting money from these hospitals. I know, it's crazy, right? Best part, it's in broad daylight. Let's see. Oh, the whole vaccine mandates, the violation of your constitutional rights, your medical freedom, violation of the Nuremberg Code, forcing a experimental drug, an experimental vaccine onto anybody. Didn't even think twice about it. They were plowing straight ahead. You want to know why? Depopulation. That's the reality. The hope is that we ended up with more vaccines that were given that were just a saline solution and not any of the bad stuff. But the fact is, we've seen an awful lot of people succumb to it. And people that kept getting more and more doses, to watch people go through this and to find out how healthy people just drop dead. I'm telling you now, this happened here in Oregon. This is criminal what happened. And one day, all this truth, this is not conspiracy theory. This is a reality. We see it every day. And for me and my wife, the last 2+ years, no masks. No vaccines, not even a flu shot. I don't even trust that stuff anymore. That's where I'm at. And in all that time, we've been as healthy as we could possibly be. I've been around this state. I have hugged, shake their hands, everything with people. Not wearing masks, no hand sanitizer. And guess what? I'm totally fine. So you tell me. I think it's more important for us to work on a healthy immune system than to compromise it with something like that. And now the word is that if you do take one of these COVID vaccines, you are 10 plus times more likely to actually get COVID. And with the new batch that's out, by the way, almost, I think less than 3% of the population has taken it. And everybody else is like going, I'm done. I'm not doing it anymore. It's sad, though, that it took this long for people to finally get to that point. And there's a lot of people, I mean, I've been attacked for not getting the vaccine. I know people at work that were getting terminated for not getting a vaccine, violating their human civil rights. And I have one gal that's actually gone through the whole process of fighting the VA. That's right. And she's winning. And now it's at the point for her, she has 3 attorneys actually working for her. 2 of them for free, and the third one's going to get paid for once she wins. She's going to win. But she dotted her I's, crossed her T's, never gave up. I sat with her on the initial interviews and how we put the thumb screws to them with our lawfare ammo. That's what we used. That's where it all started. So I'm really looking forward to the conclusion of that. So the other thing about the hospitals is this. Think about how many people they fired or removed, nurses that refused to get the vaccines, right? I'm thankful for those people, those doctors and nurses that refused to get the vaccines. Said, you know what, I'm not doing it. The crazy part is the fact they were importing nurses, paying them way more to come to Oregon, and they didn't necessarily have to have a vaccination. Why don't you just use the ones you have here? That would make sense. That would even make common sense. But apparently, as my grandfather once said, if common sense were common, we'd all have it. And currently in our legislature, it's obvious that common sense and representing the people here in Oregon is not their concern. They're more concerned about rubbing elbows up there with China. Yeah. And the pictures, go look at the OregonChinaCouncil.org webpage. Go look at all the pictures. Go look at all the representatives on there. That's right. It's going to make you sick. Because all these people, in my honest, humble opinion, are guilty of treason by endorsing that endeavor, which fundamentally endorses the Agenda 2030. And that is a new world order and the complete total subversion and violation of your constitutional liberties, freedoms, and sovereignty. People all around the world are fighting to get those things. People fight to come to this country for those things. And the idea that we're just going to let it go? No, we're not doing that. Okay, let's get to question 6. Education. Oh, dear God. All they've done is lowered standards. They made it as bad as they could. And, you know, when I was in Louisiana, I fought Common Core while I was there. And before I left there to come to Oregon with my son, John, we got it stopped. They pulled Common Core. It was a great thing. Everybody's like, it was hard fought by a lot of people. And then I come to Oregon. Guess what? Common Core. And I remember my first confrontation with it. My son was just math stunk. He's a great guy when it came to math, and he was having a lot of problems in his algebra class. I'm like, what's the problem? So where's your book? Goes, well, they didn't give us a book. No book for algebra? Are you kidding me? So I had a parent-teacher conference, talked to the teacher. They said, well, they don't really have a book. We have these packets we hand out. I'm like, packets? You know, well, they do have a book, and it's brand new books underneath their desk. These things haven't even been opened once. The library was full of all these books from different classes. The spines were not cracked. They paid for these books. They didn't use them. This is Crook County High School, okay, in Prineville. And I'm looking at this going, well, wait a minute. Okay, so here's what you're studying now. Open up the book, crack it open, brand new time, first time. No names in the front of the book, nothing. And I'm looking at, well, here's good examples of this problem and how to work. Well, they don't want them to work it out that way anymore. Math is math. A plus squared plus B squared equals C squared exists not only on this planet, but the entire universe. The only real true universal language is mathematics. And guess what, guys? as a human race, we don't even know all the mathematics. Calculus didn't even come into being till, gosh, I think the 80s or 90s or something like that. I mean, real serious stuff. But it's not like been around since Pythagorean's theorem. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but it's true. We just hadn't really discovered it or figured it out yet. That's all. But that tells you something. There's a lot of math still to figure out. So my biggest issue is this, is if we're not going to make sure our students in public education, K through 12, aren't coming out with the bare essentials, the things they need to exist in our world, okay? To be able to go on to college or to go on to technical school or to go into an apprenticeship. English, reading, writing, arithmetic. You got to know this stuff. They don't need to know gender studies and somebody's opinion about 71 different genders. There's 2. It's basic biology at the chromosomal level. Don't let them push you into ignorance, because that's what they're trying to do. And for all you young people out there, let me tell you what. You guys should be screaming the loudest, because you guys are getting the shortest end of the stick. Yeah. Students need real jobs with their education, and even their college education. Getting a degree in philosophy, you better be preparing for teaching philosophy in college. That's it. Okay? Because there's no philosophy factory down the street. If you're going to go get a degree in gender studies, really, what's your job going to be? Studying 71 different genders that people made up just so they can feel better about themselves? No. You want to be a tree, you want to be a cat, you want to be you know what, that's your prerogative. You can do that. But the fact is, you can't expect all of us to go, oh, you're a cat. These pronouns thing, again, no. This is just people's way of getting all of us to go along with whatever issues they have. And people have issues. I get it. People are confused. Young people especially. We all go through these stages. But what's the difference? The difference is that when we were going through school, we weren't being indoctrinated into socialism. We weren't being taught that the world owes us a living, okay, because the world does not. We weren't taught that. We were taught to get out there, get your hands dirty, go to work. If you don't like doing this dirt job, then you better get smart. You better go to college. You better learn this. You better learn a trade. You know, a plumber, an electrician, an engineer, they make bank. The engineer had 4 to 6 years of college, maybe. The plumber, not so much. Electrician, you might have a few. But fundamentally, those journeyman type positions, once you get through the process, you'll never, ever worry about paying your bills. And the guy that got that philosophy degree, he's still paying for it. So our students need to be also taught that. They got to help focus and find their aptitudes, and then define those career fields that, and there's usually quite a few, that they can get involved in, that they would actually have a direct interest in and success in, because they have the natural propensity for that. Whoa, that's pretty bright. Ah, thank you. My set director. So the other issue I have with the whole higher education thing is that they keep asking for more money from the state, which it means comes from us. All these, I have found out, I think it's Rutgers University, their endowment fund, which, by the way, college universities, they don't pay taxes on anything. Not their profits and their investments, nothing. Free. Good to go. And Rutgers University apparently has more gross national product by their own endowment than I think is Saudi Arabia. Do you have a problem with that? You should, because here's the deal. Because of all that money they have, they're supposed to be using that for their students. Keep the tuition in check, pay for the best teachers and educators they can get, make sure the campus is squared away. But they've invested in such a way, it's a for-profit business. And then they have the audacity to come back to the state, to the taxpayers, demanding more money. No. Oregon State, University of Oregon, George Fox, I don't care who you are. Every university of this state needs to have their endowments audited. And when we find and see, which I know we're going to find, that they've not been actually using it to help their students, to make it where these students can actually get out of school, work for a couple years and actually pay off their student loans. Instead, they're paying them off for 10, 20, 30 years. No, that can't happen anymore. That's got to be addressed. But just remarkable. And the thing is, all these other candidates, the three evils, did they talk about what I just said? No, not at all. We got to find more revenue. We got to find more money, more money, more money. No, we don't. You already have so much money. You're supposed to give a big, huge chunk of it back, which you are not. That's what they're guilty of, people. So for young people out there, stop buying the bovine excrement, okay? They're lying to you. They're making it harder on you, but then they're trying to direct you against us. See, what if, I remember my last year of college, my semester cost me about $1,400 for the semester. That was my tuition, okay? And actually, I think that may have even included books. And that was for the University of Louisiana, Raging Cajuns, and that was for an engineering degree, mechanical engineering. That school was in the top 3 schools for engineering. Yet, on all the grades they give for the college, they scored perfect scores on everything except for one thing, the cost of tuition. Because the graders of that said, well, you're not charging enough for your education. You should be charging way more. And University of Louisiana said, no. We're going to take care of our students the best way we can. We're trying to keep our education affordable. We're going to keep our schools full. We're going to keep creating students that are ready to go into the workforce. Because trust me, going to engineering, if you come out through an engineering degree program in some school and you can't go into the oil field or whatever, not good, guys. It's not an education you should have paid for. The worst part is oftentimes you end up paying way more for a crappy education unless you go hunt them down. So that was my plug for the University of Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Okay. Question 8 was about abortion. And I think it was Tina Kotek said, this is about organ values because a woman's right to her body is what Oregonians, that's organ values. Oregonian values are not murdering the innocent. Ever. I don't think that. I know that. And for the audacity, Tina Kotek to say this. See, they always try to say, well, this is about women's health. No, if it was women's health, you'd leave her alone. Let her have her child. But no. You wait till late term for a late term abortion so you can harvest baby parts and sell them to the highest bidder. And that is a reality. That is not a conspiracy theory. It is a legitimate conspiracy. It's actually happened. The worst part is there's federal laws that are supposed to be fighting against that, but our current Department of Justice is not enforcing those laws. Yeah, see a problem here? Another 3-letter agency not doing their job. I know, imagine that. I'm shocked too. So I have a simple fix for the whole abortion thing. And at this point, no, I wouldn't outlaw abortion. No, not at all. No. That's a choice that somebody gets to make. But here's the other choice we all get to make. Would you want to pay for your neighbor who wrecked his car for his repairs because you also happen to have a car? No. He was drunk. He wasn't paying attention, on his cell phone, wrecked his car. Is that your responsibility? No. As governor, should I make it your responsibility? No. Okay. So what about those people that basically for lack of discretion and lack of the effort to bring birth control into the equation, all of a sudden now wants you to pay for their indiscretion? No. Do you realize there's a national poll done on this, and over 80% of American taxpayers said no, they don't want to pay for abortion. That's not to say that they all didn't agree that abortion should be available to people. It was that they didn't want to pay for it, which is totally legit. Okay? So the thing is, if we automatically put that to the voters, and let them decide. And we take that money away from the industry here in Oregon that eats 90+% of the elephant. That's a good thing. The other thing is this: for those people that end up in that situation where they have an unwanted pregnancy, they need to get certain support. They need to have the opportunity to at least maybe carry through with the birth, maybe offer that child up for adoption, or maybe they might decide to keep it. We have to rebuild the family unit here in Oregon, guys. We have to stop the things that are literally corrupting and killing the family unit, because that has been the whole cultural Marxist agenda. The actual socialist agenda here in Oregon is to destroy the family unit, to get you to turn against your mom, your dad, your family, to isolate you, to segregate you off, because that makes you an easier target. That's the reality. I don't make this up. It's just what it is. But if you know what it is, then you can do something about it, especially for yourself. I understand. I meet people all the time, and I'm sure I even have a couple of kids that, I just hate my dad. Well, why? He held me accountable. He made me accountable for my mistakes. That's on you. It's not on your dad. It's not on your mom. At a certain point in your life, when you become an adult, you move out on your own, that's all on you. Now, some people get to have that silver spoon in their mouth, It helps them out a little bit. And a whole lot of us, no, we didn't come up that way. We had to work for everything for ourselves. But we have a generation that seems to think the world owes them a living. It's just not true. No matter how much the socialists tell you this, it's just not true. So there's how we're going to fix the whole abortion thing. And abortion is not health care. That's another lie. Health care would be making sure the mother had the right vitamins and checkups to make sure the baby's doing okay and that type of thing. That would be health care. Planning to kill a fetus has nothing to do with health care. Okay, next one. We talked about this already with the M110, the decriminalization of the illicit drugs. Yes, it needs to be repealed, but I think the majority of Oregonians will support that, and we need to put it to them. And if Oregonians say, yes, we want to repeal that, boom, goes to the legislature, quick one-page bill, comes to the governor's desk, signed, repealed by the people, for the people. Amazing how that works. That's how it's supposed to work. We talked about the homeless and how they've basically been attracting homeless to Oregon. There was even in Bend, the city council of Bend, Oregon. Bend's a beautiful town. I lived there before I could move to Roseburg. And the city council decided, because they're just so benevolent and so caring, they invited all these homeless people to come to Oregon to stay in all the hotels in Bend, which I really don't think they thought this through. And the hotels that may have participated in this or started to were like, I don't think I want this, because the city was going to pay for all this, right? Yeah, but they probably wanted some discounts. It was just remarkable. They finally came to the conclusion they couldn't afford it. So all these homeless flew into Bend, Oregon, and they were camped out on all kinds of medians all over the place. It's usually beautiful when you go through the bypass deal, and then there was tents and garbage and carts, and just it was bad. The good news is apparently they've cleaned them out. They moved them out. Where they went, probably Portland. I can't wait to start busing them back to wherever they came from. And if they're illegals, yeah, I guess we might have to invest in, and we'll let individuals pay for those bus trips all the way to Martha's Vineyard. Yeah, I think that'd be good. So there's that. Next one, they had the question. It's always a loaded question because they basically go with the assumption that climate change is real. It's a verifiable, proven science fact according to them. And these are people like with philosophy degrees and history degrees and really no real knowledge about any of this stuff. They're just parroting the same information that they're given. So for us, carbon pollution here in Oregon, how much do we have? Our actual legitimate carbon footprint is like 0.002. We're probably one of the lowest in the world. But here in Oregon, they act like we are the worst. Now, the worst would be someplace like maybe like Turkey but they burn coal openly. That gray cloud that hovers everywhere, yeah, it's coal dust, not good for lungs, like that. How do I know that? I lived there for 2 years. So we have the lowest carbon footprint. They keep burning our forests, trying to create a bigger one to justify cap and trade. Our governor did an executive order because she couldn't get cap and trade passed through the legislature. So she did it, in my opinion, a illegal executive order to implement cap and trade right here in Oregon. To me, it's a criminal offense here. And the attorney general should have kept her in check, but she doesn't, because the attorney general is just as guilty now, just as complicit. So let's see. So we have this carbon footprint that's really non-existent. The worst thing we really have here in Oregon is, I don't know if you guys knew this or not, but we have geoengineering companies operating here in Oregon, the guys that actually supply chemicals and planes for spraying the chemtrails. Yeah, they're here in Oregon. I think they're actually in Eugene and Salem. Remember when you were told that, oh no, chemtrails, that's not true? Well, see, they didn't call them chemtrails. They called it geoengineering. We just looked at it was like chemicals in a trail, in an airplane, right? And we were still told, no, you don't know what you're talking about. It's not true, until they found it in the congressional budget. And once it was found in the congressional budget, they were like, oh, shoot, jigs up. They know. They have proof. Well, it's nothing. It's just a experiment thing we're doing. It's fine. Don't worry, you're fine. Oh, it's something, all right. It's so bad. They're putting nanoparticulate aluminum, barium, a couple other things, sprayed in the air. For what purpose? All this stuff is poison to us, right? And the thing is, this stuff falls down to the ground. It gets into our rivers, our streams. It ends up in our snowpack. It used to be when they tested the snowpack here in Oregon, and they would test a chunk of snow. Here you go. Put it through the analyzer. There wouldn't be a single part per million at all of aluminum. Nothing. Now the parts per million in aluminum are freaking way off the chart for safe for here in our drinking water here in Oregon. You see what's going on here, guys? They're doing it all behind your back. And me? Well, we're going to make them famous. No, we're going to make them infamous. But you got to get me in office first. Then we have the water issues. And the biggest problem we have here in Oregon with water is not an actual legitimate drought. The real biggest problem is the Bureau of Reclamation. Now, the Bureau of Reclamation, the people running it, has been assigned by Kate Brown. These are pretty much eco-terrorists. Their goal and ambition is pretty much generate and make a worse drought than anything we have. And in the course of doing that, they drained reservoirs wherever they can, where they can get away with it. And they do this with the justification that they're trying to clean the riverbeds for the spawning grounds. I got news for you goobers, you supposed environmentalists at the Bureau of Reclamation. You don't know what you're talking about. And a lot of people, I know they go, well, it must be true. They said. No, it's not true. The riverbeds are fine, clean just fine. They don't need any extra cleaning with more water running through the river. What we do need is that water to be in those reservoirs where it's supposed to be for a period of time to take care of our farming and our ranching and our entertainment. When was the last time somebody could actually go ski in Prineville or Ochiko Reservoir in Central Oregon? When was the last time you bought a season pass at Mount Bachelor and actually got to ski the entire season? So what do we do about this? First thing we do, Bureau of Reclamation. Oh, those guys are going to be fired. Matter of fact, they're going to be investigated on top of it, because what they did, even if it was with the knowledge of Kate Brown, the governor, they're still accountable, and we will hold them accountable. We'll find out who they are in great gory detail, and, well, we'll see what happens then after that. In the meantime, Bureau of Reclamation, the whole process, the whole goal and ambition to somehow to turn back the clock here in Oregon 100 years ago. Well, if that's the case, then we got to start digging up Portland and Eugene and Salem. Got a lot of concrete to remove, got a lot of people to displace and send to other states. There's no common sense in this. We're a developed, growing state, and we have been retarded in that growth intentionally. That has to stop. So, with the water, we got the Klamath Basin issue. You got freshwater, juniper trees soaking up all kinds of water. You have Facebook and Apple. They use a lot of water. They claim they recycle their water. No, guys, they evaporate it. That's how they take care of their heating from all their servers. All right. It's kind of like a swamp cooler arrangement. Now, in the wintertime, they don't have to use very much at all because it's naturally cool here. But during the summers, a little different animal. They use a lot of water. They have a bunch of wells that the city of Prineville dug for them and everything. Yeah, part of the deal. Some people say, well, Facebook sends me great things for Prineville, Oregon. Oh, there's another city, I think it was over towards Burns or something, that they were upset because they were supposed to get the data sent, right? I'm like, trust me, you should be glad you didn't. You want to see the death of your town to a certain degree? Yeah, you'd find it. See, in Prineville, what happened was they said, oh, look, Facebook's going to pay for a whole new sanitation wastewater treatment facility for all of Oregon, for Prineville. It's going to be wonderful. It's great. They're so generous. Well, the truth was what Prineville had wasn't enough to accommodate Facebook and everything else that was going to happen up on the hill. So Facebook had to foot the bill. And they already got a sweetheart deal because the three country bumpkin boneheads made that deal on behalf of the city of Prineville, Cook County. Yeah. Those three guys, Central Oregonians. Yeah, the fact that you guys have not tarred, feathered them, and ran them out on the Prineville Railroad, I'm shocked, really, because you should. So then we also have this thing, the dam removal. They're talking about spending $360 million on this. And think about these there's other things can be done, way more affordable than that. But also, we have this thing called orographic cloud seeding. So part of the issue for Oregon is what like 12 other states are doing right now is they're getting the water they need that basically is ending their droughts. Say what? Yeah, that's right. There's a legitimate solution. And that solution is orographic cloud seeding. No, this is not geoengineering. And really, if we had a way to take dust, just dust, and break it up in such a way so it's the right shape that we could actually blow that dust up into the clouds that actually have water in them, we could basically make the same thing happen. But with orographic cloud seeding, the one little addition they have is silver iodide. And by the way, this has been used since way back to help get rain started, especially in the Dust Bowl and other places. But also, there's a Project Popeye in Vietnam. And Project Popeye was spraying this silver iodide, this burned silver iodide, into the air to cause rainfall. And they were doing this up in where Cambodia comes into Vietnam. And basically come on, what do they call that? Basically the trailer, they bring all that equipment and they poured rain as much as they could. That's why a lot of Vietnam veterans like, man, it was always wet. It was always raining, it was miserable. But a lot of that was brought on by us just to inconvenience the enemy. Yeah, it's a legitimate deal. Go look it up. Project Popeye. So with the orographic cloud seeding here in Oregon, you think, well, wait a minute, Paul, that's going to cost way too much money. Au contraire. We could secure upwards of 200 million acre feet of water in precipitation on the mountains where it's supposed to be, okay, to the tune of maybe $2 million a year. That's a good deal. It's a really good deal. And it's way better than $360 million removing dams, right? So if we can make sure that all these other things we're doing to help with the water problem, that we can basically correct this man-made drought, and then also give us a little extra we need in certain places and times to make sure that we're just good to go to cover the state any given year. I would say that's really intelligent. That's an intelligent design. Now we have something else we can do too. See all this fresh water that pours into the ocean? Does all of it need to go to the ocean? No, it doesn't. So what do? Well, how about this? That would be a good infrastructure project to actually pump water back up to locations that actually need it. Whether it's back up to a reservoir, maybe, let's see, how about a special project that we can pipe water all the way up into, say, Lakeview. Fresh water off the coast, all the way up to Lakeview, where you have water that's contaminated with uranium mine. Oh, come on. Yeah. A lot of stuff comes out of the uranium mines, the leftover tailings. There we go, tailings. Big problem with cancer up there, guys. Why? because it manages to get into the water system there. There's things we can do to fix Oregon and to help Oregonians. And those things cost way less than all the money they're wasting on all this stuff that you don't even know about. We need somebody in office that's going to be responsible and is going to be transparent and show you what's behind the curtain. And you may not like it, but at least you'll know the truth. And if we know the truth, then we all can be more responsible. We all can do better things. And I think really that's what needs to happen for Oregon. Next question was complaining that, Portland and Willamette Valley get all the money attention. PG&E stands for Portland gets everything. And well, with rural Oregon, they're like, well, what can you do to make it more equitable? I hate that word. Where, small business and big corporations, they get rewarded somehow for what they do. Okay, first thing is this. Number one, get out of their way. All this excessive regulation, all these excessive taxes, fees, small business, big business, go away. There's no real legitimacy for them. That's the first thing. Number two, if I give any business a reasonable environment to operate in, they will create their own rewards. There's a benefit to being in a business, to own a business. But you've got to do the work. And you need to be able to do it in an environment that's not going to rob you blind. And right now here in Oregon, all they keep talking about is more taxes. I'm the only one that's talking about no. And I know how we can do it. You want a solution? I got it. But I still have to get an office to do it. So then, like I said, get out of the way. When Tina Kotek went to the Pendleton Roundup in her nice little cowboy outfit, her clown suit, yeah, it was a joke. You think anybody saw through that facade? I think so. The appointments to the different agencies with bias. Let me tell you what. There's so many people Kate Brown has put into office in different places throughout these various state agencies that they're all biased in her favor. They're biased in support of the whole climate change agenda, all that stuff. They're all making money hand over fist. Did you know AOC has been making about $172,000 a year since she's been in office, is now worth $29 million? Did she have a business? No. Did she ever produce anything? Has she ever really employed anybody outside of her office? No, not really. Go into Congress, starving student with college debt, be there for a couple years, and now you're a multimillionaire, and you're still a moron. Yeah. Also, people, please stop sending stupid people to our Congress. Okay? You've got to weigh and measure these people. They better be an academic of some kind and be able to speak intelligently about what we're talking about here. See, here's the thing. Every one of you that watches all this and listens to this, you guys can speak more intelligently about this stuff than all those people out there. Okay? You get this stuff down, you could be governor. Why not? If you're doing the right things, if you're learning the right things, if you're willing to plow through the bull stuff and cut through the curtains, you can do it. Next question was small businesses, state reward. Oh, actually, we just kind of covered that too. State resources and reward for big business. We have to treat the symptoms. We can't treat the symptoms. We have to go to the real problem. And the real problem is the overtaxation of business in Oregon. People are already being overtaxed. They're talking about adding more taxes to that. This has got to stop. The cat tax has got to go away. Small business is the backbone of our economy. And right now, there's a lot of small businesses that are dying for people. It used to be we had plenty of people that would work as, say, cleaning hotel rooms and what have you. I was stopped by and dropped something off at a local hotel here in town. Nice one. I think it was the Hampton. Yeah, I think it was the Hampton Inn. Anyway, dropped off something there, and there was a little thing in the elevator. It was saying that due to staffing, we're not able to service your room every day, but we can do it every third day. So if you're here for a longer visit, every third day. But if you need new towels and stuff, you can let them know, and they'll get that stuff. You see a problem here, guys? So here's the thing. I wonder if the Hampton Inn has lowered their prices for you to stay there. So they're making more money, paying less out. You don't get a discount for their lack of ability to provide you reasonable, proper service. Should you have a problem with that? Yes, you should. And until you notice it and tell them so, they're going to keep doing it. I look forward to being able to be the governor and do those little fireside chats at the end of the week to let you know what happened, what's going on. We're going to have us some fun with that. Number 13. This was continued from that. Something I want to, the candidates that I'm up against, they've already stated that they don't plan on changing anything in taxes. As a matter of fact, there's a whole bunch of new taxes coming on, but they won't talk to you about them. They don't want to let you know that they know that more taxes are coming, because then you won't vote for them. All right? Yeah, there you go. I'm not going to vote for them, but I am going to write in Paul Romero. Hope you do too. Let's see. So next one, we got high-tech industry. How do we get high-tech into Oregon? Well, one thing we need to do is address our current industries. Timber, farming, ranching, industrial hemp. Let's address those. Maybe we can find a way to make those kind of high-tech, right? The other thing is when we bring in high-tech, there needs to be an automatic requirement that 80% of their employees have to be Oregonians, already living in the state. We have so many college graduates with all kinds of computer degrees, and where do they go? They leave the state. They want to stay here, but there's no job for them here. So all these people, Tina Kotek, whatever, we need tech. Intel had a big project to add on. And here in Oregon, did Kate Brown and her little minions in the legislature, did they do anything to stop Intel from leaving? No. Do they really want those jobs here? No. They say they do, but their actions prove otherwise. I'm all for Intel being here, but doggone it, you can employ our people. You're going to put our college students to work. You're going to educate people. That's what you need to do so they can come in and do the work. That's only fair. If I'm going to cut you a break on property, I'm going to cut you a break on taxes, which we really shouldn't have to do, at least for corporate business taxes. We can make them reasonable. That's all we have to do. Make them reasonable. Make them less than other places. That makes us appealing. And make sure we have plenty of water. Because if we don't have any water, forget about it. That also kills so many other industries for us. The dedicated school funding source. Oh, we need more money from the taxpayers to cover this. We need more money for our schools. No, they don't. They've already they're wasting money. We're not getting the bang for the buck at all. Okay? And I know, what, we're going to be getting rid of a bunch of teachers because they're a little bit way too left. Okay? And they're going to get all but hurt when they find out that they can't talk about all the stuff that they've been talking about in class and indoctrinating our children. Yep, that whole thing is going away. It's one of the nice things I could do as superintendent of schools. I can turn that stuff around on a dime, and it will be turned around on a dime, day one. So what were the dedicated sources for funding for schools before? Do you remember? Back in the 80s? That's right, the timber industry. But when they started taking that away, once the spotted owl, all that stuff, that was their goal, to kill that industry completely. Okay? And now the next phase of that plan is to burn us out. Take away our water, get rid of the farms, the ranches. All this stuff works together. It is not, things aren't just independent. This is really a good plan they had, guys. They totally slid it by us. They really did. So with that funding, we can do that. We have to end the indoctrination. We have to end the incompetence in our teaching and those that control that. And the teachers union, bye-bye. It's got to go. Oh, and remember, I told you, I warned you about the kicker. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and they do not want to part with it. They want to spend it so bad on all their little stuff. And they're trying to figure out a way. They've already broke the law on the kicker a couple times now. And our attorney general lets them. Just as guilty. We got to fix that. And of course, I want to implement the whole zero-based budgeting process. After the first year, we'll evaluate it to do that. And I'll bring in the experts in that regard too. Question 16 was, were there any issues we agreed on? And like I said, the topics. Oh yeah, there's all these topics, but the solutions for them, I'm the only one that's really offered any real solutions to anything. And for them, mostly it's just lip service and, oh yeah, we need to change. And I know we need to change our education and we need to do this. We need to stop buying their political rhetoric. It's just them feeding you more horse biscuits, and not fresh ones either. Question 17 was, how do we re-engage students, young people, to trust in their government? Well, first thing is you got to give them something to trust, something legitimate, something genuine, something heartfelt. The fact is, you're none of that. Most of the people we have in our legislature all support the Oregon China Council. That means they all support Agenda 2030. That means they all support the New World Order and taking away your liberty, your freedom, your sovereignty. Call it like it is. It just is. And so to me, for young people, and I consider myself a young person, I'm 56. I'm Generation X. We're Generation Extreme. Heck, we were the first hackers. Yeah, believe it or not, way back in the day, I did kind of end up hacking into the superintendent's mainframe computer. I could have changed grades, but my grades are so good, I didn't need to change them. True story. So fundamentally, stop manipulating all these young people with fear. Climate change, oh, it's going to kill you. It's going to go. Really? Listen, young people, Generation Xers, Zennials, Millennials, all of you, every 10 years, this left group, whatever you want to call it, they have been claiming that we're all going to die in 10 years if we don't do this, or if we don't do that, or don't do the other thing. And then every year, every 10 years, every 12, whatever it is, they set up the time frame. Nothing they claimed ever came to pass. And not because we did something about it. We did nothing. They just kept screaming about it, kept screaming, oh, we need money to do this. We need money to do that. We need money to pay for ourselves because we don't want to get a real job. I mean, oh, I did say that. Right? That's what they were doing. And now we have climate change. We have the climate accords. Trump pulled us out of that. Perfect. Absolutely a good thing to do. And to be honest, I support fully pulling out of the United Nations because it's not doing its job. Its job, its goal is a new world order. And believe me, the people that are running that show, you do not want running this country. Guys, we have it good here. But every country has the ability to do what we do here. They just don't do it. They rather take the easy way out and just come here. But now we have people that are trying to do the same thing here out of mostly ignorance. But then there's those that are making big bank from China and what have you. And they're going to continue to do that because it benefits them. They don't really care about anybody else. Right up until somebody takes them out. And usually it's going to be the very person that gave them all that money. So basically stop lying to our young people. Stop indoctrinating them. Stop manipulating them by fear. And it's time to push critical thinking. Question things. It's okay. You know, everything I've talked about, somebody has a question about it, bring it. No problem. It's not going to offend me. It's not going to upset me. I'm going to hold my ground. I'm going to tell you what I need to know, or what I do know, so you can understand it. And if it's not enough, I'll try to get more. Now, if you don't want to understand, period, well, I can't really overcome that. But I'll still have a conversation with you, you know. And the other thing we have to do is we got to restore the family unit. We have to stop undermining the family unit. And public education has become a huge factor, probably the single biggest factor in violating the family unit. It's important, guys, because I'll tell you something. The one thing I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is when it comes to your kids, there's nobody that loves them, cares about them, or is more concerned about their health, safety, well-being, and happiness than their parents. And all these other people on the outside, oh no, screw your parents, they suck. Did they give you a card? They give you this, they give you that, the other. No, well then they suck. They should have done all that stuff. That's what they're listening to. That's what they're buying. You know, there's a lot of things that make this country great, but fundamentally it comes down to what we do, our creative nature, our stick-to-itiveness. You know, that's what matters. And I'd much rather see that being taught in public schools and college than anything else. Is that you can be self-reliant. And in doing so, you fully exercise your liberties, your freedoms, and your sovereignty. These things mean something. It may not mean things much to people, younger people right now, but it's going to mean something, especially if it gets taken away. So there you have that kind of in a nutshell. And that video will be prepared and available in the next day or so, according to Corbin. And so that went really good. And my guest had to leave, but they got a chance to at least kind of watch how I do this. And if you notice where I'm at, I'm actually upstairs, and my wife Oksana, who I love absolutely beyond belief, she does her speaking from here. She's been interviewing some very interesting world people and doing a very good job of explaining the politics going on here in America with our president, with other countries, and how all this stuff is played out. She's had tremendous insight from day one. Now, there's a lot of people out there that try to discredit her. I mean, she didn't know what she was talking about. But the truth is, guess who gets to eat crow? Not her, all of them. And I like that. I think it's important. If you're wrong, you're wrong. And if you're a reasonable, decent human being, then you'll own up to it. You'll take it on the chin. Say, you know what? I was wrong. And you go on. But these people don't do that. They would rather die than be wrong, even when they're wrong. It's ridiculous. That's what's come in this country. In social media, everybody's got their blogs, everybody does their things, and it's kind of enjoyable, I guess, but it's also a lot of work. All the preparation I do for these things and all the things I've had to learn and know and understand in the course of running for governor. It's a responsibility, and you either step up to it or you do like, Kim Thatcher did when she went up against Shemaiah Fagan. She didn't study nothing. She didn't know what to say. She didn't know how to say it. She didn't. She was so disconnected with us, the people that literally voted for her. It was embarrassing to watch that debate. I'm telling you what. But okay, so let's tell you what. Let me go over here, and I'm going to try to see if I can address any of these things in here that maybe gets us some extra questions. People get snarky. You know, what's funny is I mean I think I get a little snarky sometimes too, but it's kind of a playful side. It's not meant to be just hammering on it, but you still have to expose the truth, and the truth is way more interesting than whatever they're trying to build and force onto us. But also, you can't really fix a problem if you don't know the real crux of the issue. So I'm really kind of big there. And of course, Krista Barker, she's glad I'm losing. Losing? Is the governor's race over? No. But obviously, Krista Barker is somebody who's a little bit out of touch and doesn't actually know the truth, and she's buying a bunch of the BS that she's been fed. Well, make sure you put plenty of salt on that. Let's see. That's a fact, James. The whole climate change, all the money they will spend just here alone in Oregon is like trillions of dollars. You know what? Apparently, Krista Barker, maybe she's willing to just pay for it. She might have the funds to cover that, so that can take care of those climate people, and they can go waste their money on all that. Yeah, because the rest of us, we just know it's not true, and it's not our opinion. It's scientifically proven to be not true. What else we got over here? Get white shirt, Dollar General writing one on the back. Ask me about Paul Rumford. Yes, that's awesome. The only America First candidate. That's right. And if you want your freedom, you want to keep more of your money. Yep, you're going to want to put me in office, because otherwise you're going to end up with nothing. Thank you, LaDonna. Thank you, Sherry. Let's see. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Yeah, there's Rogue Splice. He's here. He's in the house too. And he says it's nice to have an actual candidate that can talk about some real issues with real solutions. Guys, don't elect anybody that doesn't have some idea, some solution to the problem. Matter of fact, most of the problems we have here in Oregon, there's actually multiple solutions, and they kind of all need to be employed. This not only guarantees a positive result, but it also can make sure it happens quicker. And the other thing, of course, you work in affordability on the front end. So that's kind of nice too. That's the difference between a politician and a project manager. That's right. JMD, the Oregon China Council, is supported by Kotek, Johnson, and Dracer. And to me, supporting that and supporting Agenda 2030 fundamentally violates their oath of office to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. They being the domestic side of that. What else we got over here? Yeah, well, Dina Duncan, she actually lives in Prineville. I know a lot of people live in Prineville. I grew up in Prineville. And yes, Prineville has actually suffered because of Facebook. Go through Prineville and go look at all the storefronts that are now empty. Yeah, not good. You know, I miss going to Rexall Drug there at the corner. I think it's like an investment place now, but they used to have a soda jerk fountain there. You could go have lunch, get you a milkshake or a malt, and do your drugstore shopping. I don't know why that ended up closing and folding. That place is always busy. So yeah, see the Prineville Electrical Reservoirs, they've been extremely low from the beginning of the season, and it should not have been that way. We had plenty of moisture through the winter. Let's see what else we got over here. Thank you, Diane. Hey, I clean up decent. And by the way, I have all kinds of suits. I have a lot of different suits. But the other thing is I feel like if somebody sees me in suits all the time, they're going to associate me with that element. You know what I'm saying? Listen, there's a lot of people here, including myself, throughout my life. Man, I put on work boots. You know, they're dirty and they're used, they're scuffed, and to put on a nice suit is like, well, it is me, but it's not me. And so, which also has bearing on the first commercials we're doing. And it's going to have photographs of me at different stages of my life and all the work I've done, including in the oil field. And so you'll get to see me and things I've done, all the way up to wearing the suits. That's just a snapshot of who I am. And then we'll do a voiceover of kind of my introduction and asking people to actually write me in as their next governor for Oregon. So that's being done right now. But thank you, Diane. I appreciate that. Oh, here we go. Oregon ranks 37th overall in return on investment in education spending. Guys, that is, it's horrendous. And then we have a teachers union that's demanding more money. First, if I want to pay you more, if you're an employee, you better be the top performer. You better be kicking serious tail to get that raise, right? You got to be doing something more than what your normal job is. And I would say they're doing way less than what their normal job is. So they're already being grossly overpaid. Yeah, we need to remedy that. We do. Terry, do I plan on any mailings? I have gotten several from the triplets and gleefully tore them up. Well, you know, Terry, those things cost money. And when you figure 2.5 million voters, believe you me, if I had the funds to print those off and get those mailed, yeah, we'd be all over it. Unfortunately, we do not have that kind of budget. And what I'm hoping is, like I said, we have some context we've managed to manifest over the weekend, and I'm hoping to have something before Wednesday. And if I get it, I will go live and tell you everybody about it. So just stand by. But we're getting a lot of interest. There's people from Texas calling us, saying they want to help. And it's like, okay, well, I can only do 10% from out-of-state supporters of our total everything. So we'll see how that goes. Do I have a plan? Let's see. Signs made, and we'll be getting documents printed off tomorrow to pass out. Thank you, Dina. And like I said, with signage, definitely talk with, I'm not sure what all Bob and Tammy Mahaffey are doing for Deschutes County. I know they're generating some signs there. You might want to give her a call and see what might be available. Hey, Webby Slinger, good to see you, man. Thanks a lot. Oh, and LD like my shoes. They're comfortable shoes. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, thank you. That's right, Larry. We're all healthy. Imagine that, right? It must have just been pure luck. Yeah, that's it. Awesome. Okay, what else do we got over here? Oh, man, I'm so sorry, Terry. Her mother passed because of the jab. That's, man, talk to people that were totally healthy and then totally not with us anymore. Yeah, Pamela, that's all you're going to get from me. The truth is, number one, when you have so much stuff to remember and learn, if it's the truth, it's way easier to remember. And then the best part, you get to just say the same thing every time until that information actually changes. So that's another benefit. It's also another reason why a lot of these politicians won't tell you the truth. They don't ever want to get, kind of cornered in there because, see, they're beholden to a lot of different people. And don't believe Betsy Johnson for a second. She's not beholden just to us. No. There's the people that spent millions and millions of dollars. By the way, a lot of those were Democrat sources for that money. So you're just getting two Democrats. And if anybody ever says, oh, I'm splitting the vote, no. The vote is already split. Go look at the polls they do. Christine Dracer, 32%. Tina Kotek, 31%. Betsy Johnson, 14, 16%. Okay? You want to talk about splitting the vote? The vote is already split. And everybody's still going, oh, I have to vote for the lesser three evils. Which one's lesser than the three? Oh, man, I don't know what to do. And I get that call a lot. So yeah. So if somebody tells you you're splitting the vote, no, I'm not. What I'm asking people is this: vote your conscience. Vote with your intelligence. Vote with what you know about the candidates. If you do that, even as a write-in candidate, I win. Lisa Murkowski up in Alaska, running for U.S. Senate, won a write-in candidacy for U.S. Senate. It's a statewide election. No difference than running for governor. So don't say that it can't be done. And if somebody tells you, you tell them that story, okay? Because it's true. There's a way here in Oregon, but we all have to get involved. And as a candidate, I talked with Pamela today, and people get surprised when they end up actually talking directly with me, which happens a lot. Go try to call Tina Kotek. Go try to call Christine Dracer. Go try to call Betsy Johnson. They're not going to give you the time of day. You want to know why? Because they do not care about you. They don't. Hey there, Flying Eagle Woman. Thank you. Let's see. Colonel Bankers and their wicked minions, no doubt. Yeah, I have to agree with you, Flying Eagle Woman. I don't believe we voted for all those drugs either. I'm pretty confident they were already fixing primary elections and general elections. They can fix measures as well with current ballot tallying equipment. There's a group called Common Cause, and apparently they are very biased. They do not buy into the election fraud that's been absolutely verified throughout this country. People that have been caught, people have actually gone to jail, and they are saying, no, that's just a conspiracy theory. Yeah. So if you're donating to the little group called Common Cause, don't. That is not that group of people. They are just funding themselves, kind of like PETA. PETA doesn't really save or protect animals. No, not really. And by the way, there's rules like in this state for nonprofits. I think the maximum amount of years you can be an officer, any one officer, is 5 years. I wonder how long the officers in PETA have been running the show. 20, 30, 40 years, something crazy like that. Yeah, that's a real problem. Yes, Bill Green, Pastor Aaron. Matter of fact, I was gonna try to call him before this, but got a little busy setting up, so I wasn't quite able to get my call. But I'm gonna try to give him a quick call as soon as I get done with here, which is any minute now. So thank you, Bill. And thank you, Pamela, for helping us connect with Pastor Aaron, because I know we are of very much like minds. Let's see. What else we got? Yeah, hidden taxes per person. Matter of fact, there's with the cost of inflation and everything right now, they're talking about every Oregonian is actually spending over like $4,600 more this year. We can't afford that. Our incomes aren't really going up. Our incomes have not kept up with inflation in the state of Oregon. There's a few decent jobs here, but not all of them. And right now, even the fast food places are having a hard time getting people to come to work. I'm trying to figure out how people are surviving. Now, I'm going to share something with you. One of the things that I've had to do, and it was thrown at me because somebody else was doing that. I said, you know what? They tell me, yeah, I did this DoorDash thing. We did it for just a couple hours for one day. What the heck? And they said they had a lot of fun doing it. And I thought, well, that's interesting. And I got to admit, in this day and age of DoorDash and Uber, and Uber has their own version of DoorDash, it's like, you know what? I'm curious about this. So I decided to do this. And it's going to do a couple things. It's going to allow me to not only get out with people and experience, just relate to people, but it's just kind of see what young people are actually doing. Guess what? I found it was fun. And some people can make pretty good money depending on where you're at, what kind of businesses in the area. But it shocked me that so many people would spend so much money for delivery. Because usually it's a delivery and a tip. Well, if what you paid for is a Burger King meal to be delivered, and you're paying another $6, $7, $8 to have it delivered, I'd like to think it would have been worth you just going to pick it up yourself. So I'm a little surprised by that. Apparently there's some people that have money to burn, and for us, we run a real tight ship here. And that has to do with the fact that I've not actually officially worked since I had to resign my position with the VA back in end of December last year. So we've kind of gotten by on our savings and money management, and it is tight. But the bills get paid. Still food, not all the great food we're accustomed to. We've had to shrink that and shrink our waistlines a little bit. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't like the idea we have to do it because of inflation. No, that's just wrong. But, okay, well, let me wrap this up down here. Let's see. Yeah, hey, good night, Wilson. You take care. And thank you all, guys, for being here. Thanks for listening and following. And please share with your friends. Find the videos. Find us on Telegram. Find us on Rumble. Find us on YouTube. And share all this information. Because right now, mainstream media, they're not going to report on us. They're not going to give us time of day. If you have the ability to write a letter to the editor for your local paper and tell them about me, give them information off my contract with Oregon, please make that effort. And the best part is, it might get published. Matter of fact, that paper might even call me up and interview me. So I look forward to that. In the meantime, thank you all for indulging me and taking your time to hear. Never give up, never surrender. That's the other guy's problem. And for Oregon right now, I can tell you this. We're going to make Oregon great again. We're going to make Oregon ours again. And that means cutting the Chinese Communist Party out. They have no business being here. And they have no business managing our PERS funds, which I'm a little curious about how the totals are there. I need to go check that out. So in the meantime, you guys have yes, Barry, I am on Truth Social. And I'll see if I can't make that published. I'll get it onto Telegram or something so you can find me pretty easy. And just to let you guys know, there's been talk about a third party, We the People Party for Oregon. And I think at this point, because of the corruption in the Constitution Party of Oregon leadership that was recalled, was replaced, but Secretary of State's refused to acknowledge what took place. And basically they are now guilty as well. But because of that, it's like, okay, fine, we'll take the gloves off. And for those people in the Constitution Party, many of them are already moved over to non-affiliated voter rolls. And as we get through this election, come next year, we're going to start the process for the new party. That will be the We the People Party. It will be Constitution-based, period. In addition, it's going to be set up in such a way that it can't have a loop of power at the top and only controlled by a few people. That's not representative leadership. So, all things in time. In the meantime, good night. God bless each and every one of you, and we will see you hopefully Wednesday, if not sooner.